text, little dialogue, little text to work with, and you set them the task. So read, listen, or do this or that, and solve the problem, and do the task, and answer the questions, and fill in the gaps, and something like this. So you get them to face a certain communicative task in which there is the language, vocabulary, or grammar, most of the time, that they're going to learn during the lesson. And when they have dealt with this little text and read it and maybe retold it or maybe answered the question, after dealing with this task, you can get them to, you can analyze the language of the text, the language of the dialect, whether it's grammar or vocabulary. You can, most of the time it's grammar, so you analyze it and you explain. So you said, so today we're going to talk about our future plans, right? Because we are human beings who live in the present, but we all think about the future. We want our future to be great, and we all have plans, and I have these plans, and you have, well, I don't know, these future plans. And see, look, this boy here and this retired pensioner, they all have future plans, and here are the little texts about their future plans. So please read and do this task and blah, blah, blah. And after this, look, in this text that we've been dealing with about future plans of different people, we have this construction I'm going to. What do you think it means? And so here you start analyzing the vocabulary, the language of the text that they've been dealing with, and you can do it in two ways. Again, straightforward school way, my way. You just tell them, guys, look, we have this structure. It means this. It's used in this context to express these ideas. It's different from this. So you give them all the information they need. You give them form. You give them the sound, how it should sound, the meaning. You give them examples. You give them everything they need to know in a structured way. You write on the board the formula, for example. Yeah. Be doing formula, present continuous. Then examples. I am reading. He is working. They are walking. And you tell them, guys, this is the structure that means this, and we talk about it, we use it when we want to say this and such. So you give them the context, the communicative ideas that they can express using this this grammar point. Of course, you tell them how it sounds. Sometimes it's important to focus on that. So you just can teach that right after you have dealt with this little text, with this little dialogue that contains the target language of the lesson. But if your students are clever, really smart, they think quickly, what you can do is you can elicit all this information. And eliciting, I'm not very good at that, really. I know specialists who are very good at eliciting. They've been trained to elicit information. I think when they retire, they will become, interrogators or something. Investigators and interrogators. So, eliciting means asking your students certain questions that they will answer usually yes, no, or asking them questions that, alternative questions. So they have two choices. Like you have a sentence in the text. The boy says, I'm going to enter the university. I'm 7 now, but I'm going to enter the university. And you ask your students, guys, is this, like when the boy says that, is it his plan is it something that he has been planning to do for some time, or it's something that he has just understood that he wants to do? Is it his pre-planned decision to do that, or spontaneous decision? And you give them this, and they tell you, from the context, from this text, it shows, well, I think it's pre-planned decision. and say yes. So you see, going to means this, what you've just said, it's a plan. So you ask them questions that they answer using the material of the question plus the material of the context that you're referring them to. And they work out the meaning of what you're teaching them, the language, everything. They work out all these ideas by themselves, only with your help. So they kind of teach themselves. Some of the course books are built in that way, that they just, instead of, or rather than just teaching the students what this is and what it means, they ask questions and they elicit this information. And this is a good thing to do. And again, I'm not going to give you a seminar on these elicitation techniques. You can read about that on the internet easily. Or you can just, again, experiment. Try different ways and see what works, what doesn't, and improve. And after that, when you have understood what you're teaching, when your students have understood what it is that they have to know, like, okay, we have this grammar, it means this, so you have kind of clarity in their head. What you do is you start practicing it, of course you start practicing it, and practice may take weeks, because really practicing it, well, means going through a lot of stages. First, of course, the stage of controlled practice, when you get them to say something, basically repeating on the basis of something that they see or hear, and with very little, if any, freedom on their part. So they just do what you tell them to do. Repeat after me, and you say and they say it. Or let's read it together. Let's read it aloud. This is to practice. I am going to help. I am going to work. I am going to walk. And you focus their attention on the correct pronunciation. So you do these drills, read it all together. And I'm gonna focus again more specifically on drills later. Now the topic is lesson. But again, first you just do the drills. You make sure that they can pronounce the things that they're learning in the right way. He is doing, they are doing. So that the skill is more or less, or to a certain extent, automatic. Of course, 15 minutes, not enough. After that, you give them some more exercises or more activities, but you give them more freedom. While, for example, you give them only one word, work, and ask them to make the whole sentence, he is working, or something more complicated than that. But there is a tiny bit of creativity on their part in this type of activity, and it's called guided practice, or you give them some hint, I don't know, or some word, something that they use to make their own sentence. So partly it's something that they create on their own, partly it's something that you design for them. That this is what I want you to say. Look at the picture and describe what you see using the patterns. And it's a perfect example of a guided practice. So they have certain cliches that they must read and just maybe add something to them. And as they are reading and adding something from themselves, they describe the picture. So on the one hand, it's creativity, because it's their own ideas. They use their own ideas. On the other hand, they are somehow restricted by the language that you impose upon them. And they have to use it whether they like it or not. It's guided practice. And then you give them freer practice, which means that you just set certain contexts, set certain communicative goals, some communicative tasks, give them roles, and tell them, guys, speak, solve the problem, act. Imagine you have this problem and this person can help you. Talk with him, describe praise, criticize, solve the problem. So you help them believe, you help them feel that they are not in the classroom, but they are in a real life situation with that problem, and they have to solve that problem using the language that they have recently learned. And if you see that they're coping with the task both communicatively and linguistically, that is, they don't make many mistakes in the language that they have learned, it means that you have explained the grammar very well, you have drilled it very well, you have given them sufficient amount of guided practice, and when they are free to express their own ideas the way they want them, they are not restricted by and limited by anything, any language, any task, linguistic task, to use this or that. When they are free to choose what they want to say, how they're going to say it, and they do it, and they are correct, then it means that you've done a good job, and they have done a good job. But it doesn't often happen in one lesson, maybe never. It may take a couple of weeks for you to well, depending on the group and the level, on the topic and everything. But you can achieve this state. Your students can solve communicative tasks using certain grammar that they have learned without mistakes, freely, confidently. You may achieve it through a cycle, through a process of learning, forgetting, learning, forgetting. And so revision is revision and recycling. One more important thing. It's impossible to isolate a certain language point, certain language topic, and drill it and learn it and practice it in complete isolation. I mean, it can, but it's not real, and so will be the knowledge, the skill of your students. It won't be real. If they know present simple only, and they don't know present continuous, present perfect, and if you practice them separately, all of these things, or at only one because they don't know the rest, the knowledge of your students will be only partial. It's not real. Because when you teach everything, when you put everything together, and what you will see, and what you will get, is that they will start making mistakes in the language that they didn't make mistakes in before. So the point is, when you teach and practice something in isolation, they're cool, they're great. Once you contrast it with something else, or just include different language points in one topic, in one activity, you will see that, oh my God, they don't know anything. And it will happen many, many times. That's why real practice comes much later. I mean, the distance in time between presenting, explaining the topic, and real practicing it, like giving them the real life opportunity to really use it, well, there'll be a great distance in time, really. And there'll be lots of other topics between these 2 points in time. So you will really learn, you will really practice present perfect, or whatever, present simple, when you have learned lots of other things. I have told you today, when you have put it all together in one activity, in one revision, and they operate, they function, they don't lose their understanding, their feeling of the grammar, they know their way around all of these grammar topics, then you really practice it and you really know that they really know. So, and again, I'm telling you all these things just to get you thinking. Please critically approach what you're doing and experiment. And know, I mean, I'm not giving you these actual techniques or actual things that you should do in the classroom to practice those things. I'm not, but I will. I will a little bit later. And now, just the general framework of a lesson. And a lesson can finish somewhere at a drill. Sometimes it finishes at a freer practice. Sometimes it starts with a drill. Sometimes it starts with a freer practice. So when you have presented the topic, I mean, you may even have to present it again later, but what you have is a combination of drills, guided practice, free-up practice, doing another topic, then coming back to the topic that you did before, revising it, putting it all together, revising it again in a combination with some other topics. And this is like cooking, I don't know. And there are recipes, but they are not necessarily going to work for you, for your students in that classroom. That's why only you can know what is best for your students. That's why I encourage you to take risks. And then that, the final thing from me for today. I mean, all this framework, it's all important, but, you shouldn't think too much about the material. You shouldn't think too much about the structure. What you should think about, most importantly, is your students' problems. And your students' problems should give you the idea of what you should do in the classroom and how you should teach it. Because there are problems, there are limitations that the person finds it hard to remember, this person finds it hard to understand, this person forgets all the time, and so on and so forth. All these problems that your students have, they will make it impossible for you to be successful if you, in your teaching, I mean, if you don't deal with those problems. So, I mean, be student-oriented. Don't be material-oriented, don't be language-oriented or lesson-oriented. Be student-oriented, once again. And be there. Be there. Be concentrated on the students, on what they know, what they feel, on the goal. Be ready to change. Make sure everybody is working. That's what I told you at the previous seminar. Keep their attention focused on what you're doing. Make sure they're motivated. They understand what you're doing with them and why, what the goal is. This is also very important. Encourage them. Work together with them. Be on their side. Give them hope. Give them light. Tell them, guys, look, this is what I want you to know. Follow me. I will give it to you. Or rather, you will take it for yourselves. Only I will be there making sure that you're successful. And this is the most important thing in teaching. Anyway, I think that's about it for today. I gotta go. And what can I say? Think about it. I may have given you something interesting and new. I may have given you nothing new because you've known it. Because these are the simple things everyone knows about, I guess. These are the things that are taught at seminars, teaching seminars here in Kharkov city or in Europe, and you can read all this stuff on the internet in clever books and everything. But it was my rendition of the old facts, well, do give it a thought. And next time we'll talk about something else.